Well, let's now speak to Stephen Okun, who's a senior advisor at McClarty Associates. He's joining us from Singapore. Thank you very much for being with us on Al Jazeera. So, huge uncertainty on the financial markets in Asia, as we saw today. Talk to us first, Stephen, about the extent to which geopolitical tensions and factors are at play here.
Well, okay, here's the problem. You have all of these factors, none of which any particular government can control. You have climate change, which is leading to that excessive heat, leading to flooding, leading to droughts. You have the crisis resulting from the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which is, of course, driving up, commodities prices because of the inability to get that Ukrainian wheat and to purchase from Russia as well. You've got China and the U.S. and what's resulting from those trade tensions. You've got COVID and the shutdowns, especially in China. So governments can't control any of this. Yet a government can't tell its own people, well, there's nothing we can do. So what they're doing is putting in place some export bans now, which is actually going to make the problem a lot worse, even though they think they're going to get a short-term political gain for it.
I was going to ask you about that. We've seen a number of governments in Asia, in India, putting in place these export bans to address the challenge. But how does that affect and help them in the short and long term?
Well, it's not just India. India's got its export ban on wheat. You've seen Indonesia ban for a while palm oil. You've had Malaysia banning the export of chickens. And so all of these governments want to get that political gain by showing to a domestic audience that they're helping them. But it really probably isn't, even in the short term. And in the long run, it can really hit governments. So, for example, in Malaysia, you've had a lot of companies come in and make Malaysia a regional hub, especially for chicken and poultry. And what's happened is that domestic and foreign production are intertwined. So when you say you can't ship outside of Malaysia, you're costing jobs in Malaysia. So it is governments really have to be thinking through, is this worth the short-term political gain of trying to show their public that they're doing something?
But do they have any other options, these governments?
Well, I mean, the option is you have to try and figure out how you're going to address these long term and make that very difficult argument to the people. What are you going to do to address climate change so you can prevent all of the flooding that you see in Malaysia? What are you going to do in India when it comes to the excessive heat, and how are you going to address that going forward? The problem, of course, is that even if you start to address that today, it's going to be years, if not decades, before you can show any benefit. And so governments are just doing the politically expedient thing. You see this all over the world. I'm not just picking on a couple governments, but the political expediency is potentially going to cost them FDI in the long run, and it's going to cost them the ability to prevent other bans from coming in that are going to hit them eventually.
Thank you so much for talking to us about this. Very interesting to hear you on. There's Stephen Okun joining us there from Singapore. Thank you for your time.